In this video, I'm going to talk about why I didn't buy the Sony ZV-E1. At least, not yet. Here's the story. So right now, I'm currently on the lookout for a permanent YouTube studio camera. And right now I'm shooting with my Sony a7S III once again. In my previous video, I swapped that out with the Panasonic GH4 just to see what micro four thirds would give me as opposed to full frame. And overall, I wasn't super happy with the results that the GH4 gave me, mainly due to the lack of image quality, but also the user experience when trying to shoot with it. Because the GH4 doesn't have great reliable autofocus, I had to manually focus the lens, and that meant I had to lean forward and focus it that way, which you might think is a small annoyance, but it's a big enough annoyance when I've been used to just shooting with a Sony camera that has great eye autofocus, and I can just sit down in front of the camera and then not have to worry about focus or anything like that. So it's the little things that I am starting to really focus on. Pun not intended, but it's there. And I find myself wanting to have a permanent YouTube studio camera here in my studio that I don't have to be swapping out every time I go out to do a paid shoot. I've got to shoot in a couple of hours and I'm going to have to pack up this camera because my a7S III currently is my main gimbal camera, and I'm going to be doing some gimbal work on a shoot in a couple of hours. So once again, I've got to pack up the camera and make sure I don't forget anything, make sure that the batteries are charged and all that kind of stuff. So these are some of the annoyances that are popping up when I'm wanting to create these YouTube videos, and then I've got to set the camera up and make sure it's all working and all the settings are all good. I'd much rather just have a permanent camera living here in the studio that I don't have to worry about going off site or the settings changing or anything like that. So that's why the Sony ZV-E1 looks like a really good option for me, because from my research, it's basically a Sony FX3, but it has that unpredictability of overheating. So that's probably the one big thing that is holding me back from purchasing that camera, because I need the camera to be reliable. I do need it to not overheat, because I don't want to be recording a video and then all of a sudden it overheats and then I have to wait for it to cool down and then be able to use it again. However, right now in Australia, we are in winter, and contrary to popular belief, it does actually get cold in Australia, and I live in Melbourne and that can get pretty cold. So right now this room is actually quite cool, and I probably don't really need to worry too much about the ambient temperature causing the camera to overheat. And to be honest, a lot of these YouTube videos I'm only recording for about 10 to 20 minutes. So in that time, I would be very surprised if the camera would overheat. But if it did, I have seen that there are some options for a fan that I can connect to the camera. So that could be another option just to safeguard myself and not have to worry about the possibility of the camera overheating. So currently the Sony ZV-E1 is the current front runner for me to purchase for my YouTube studio setup. But let me know in the comments, is there a camera that you know of that would probably fit my needs better? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching. And here's my setup once again. We've got the Shure SM7B microphone going into the Sound Devices Mix Pre 3 Mark II. Camera is, as mentioned, the Sony a7S III, and that's on an iFootage tripod. I haven't been able to attach it to my combo stand yet because I'll need to get something a little bit stronger to be able to attach the camera to that, but that's the long-term plan, to have a camera attached to the stand so it's all one unit. My light is the Amaran 60X, and we're at 75% intensity. And the softbox is the X light, which is the 105 centimeter shallow version. And the monitor is the Atomos Shinobi. And all of this is plugged into a power strip, which then goes into the wall.